So we're here at the end of the day at Kraus Marketing in our very own bar called 40 Pints. We're back in the office and we're practicing social distancing with only 50% capacity. Let's just make sure that we're okay here, brother.
Yeah, let me get that.
Yeah, let's see here. Oh shit. Oh. All right, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
I got Eric Mount here with me, and he'll be talking to us today about some tips and success stories that he's had. Of course, if you're a guest, you get to bring your own beer, and we drink like the booze is free here. So, what do we got today?
Today we have Cape May Brewery's Crushing It. So this is an orange IPA. Cheers from afar.
Cheers, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Things are weird now, huh? So, ooh, that's pretty citrusy.
It is. It's good though.
It's
I
good
like
that
it.
I can
It's
picture
refreshing.
that
Yeah.
on a nice summer day. It would be nice for
Yeah.
sure. So, Eric, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I am from Ocean County. I'm from Point Pleasant, New Jersey.
Okay. So down the shore.
Yep. Right on the beach.
Awesome. We used to kick kids' butts like yours when I was young.
I believe it. I've got my butt kicked plenty of times by North Jersey.
I'm just kidding. I was a nerd. I was always getting my ass kicked. I just like to act tough now. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Montclair State, right on the other side of Route 3 over here.
Yeah, we got a couple of Montclair State University grads here. Rick behind the camera is one of them.
Eric.
And Justina, our awesome admin, is another.
Yeah.
So you studied a couple different things there from what I understand. What were they?
Yeah, so I studied psychology and sociology while I was there.
Yeah, sociology is?
The study of people and how they interact with each other.
Yeah. So psychology. Care to psychoanalyze me?
Well, you're a CEO, so you're a narcissist. I'm totally joking. I'm joking.
I mean, the building does have the name Kraus Marketing.
It does have Kraus Marketing on it, and you're Nick Kraus himself.
Yeah.
So I probably shouldn't say that. No, I'll plead the fifth on psychoanalyzing you.
Appreciate that. Narcissist. Well, there's a first time for everything. So, sociology and psychology. So tell me a little bit about how you feel like that helps you with your current career.
Yeah. So
and you notice how I said current.
Current career,
like
yes.
Momentarily,
because
until this.
If I call you a narcissist again,
yes.
I'm probably not going to have a career anymore.
That's right.
Yes, of course. So no, it's helped me because it helps me understand how to get into the mind of our clients' customers.
Yep.
Most importantly, so it's understanding what sort of content they're going to resonate with, what sort of imagery they're going to react to, and how they do it. Obviously here we practice a lot of like A/B testing and like quantitative and qualitative testing against each other to really have foundational support behind that. But even getting that first mindset into creating content and how to speak to people is very important.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the funny thing is that not only do I completely agree, but just looking at you makes me want to sanitize. So
that's a good point. I would love to. Appreciate it.
No, I see that whole entire part of it. I feel like marketing is interesting because there's definitely knowledge earned and learned, right? But I think there's like an innate or a natural instinctual way that marketers are good or not good at what they do. So, but having background and understanding the human psyche, I think is really interesting. I've actually been reading a lot of books about that as well. Reading one now called Laws of Human Nature, I believe it's called.
What books have you read that have helped you get to the position that you're currently in? Or what would you recommend to someone like me?
Well, I gave you guys the book at the beginning of the year, Think and Grow Rich. I just really like the mindset it teaches. There's some chapters that may not make sense to you, but there's also a lot of chapters that are great. Shoe Dog is really interesting. It resonated with me because it's entrepreneurial, but it talks all about how Nike came out on top, mostly due to the advertising that they were at first hesitant to do because they believed that the best sneaker would win. But then they realized that the best sneaker with the best athletes behind that sneaker would win. In fact, they tell a story during it that I think it was Notre Dame was wearing their sneakers, and literally the football players were running out of the sneakers, just like happened last year.
Yeah, with Zion.
Yeah, with Zion. Literally the same thing happened to one of their first games that they had Nike sneakers on Notre Dame athletes. Their cleats were falling apart. So they actually weren't even the best back then, but they ended up getting the best sponsorships. And obviously they're winning now.
Yeah, and one thing that you actually gave me that book too, maybe a year or so ago.
Yeah.
One thing I really appreciated that was in like the opening chapters was Phil Knight's journey.
Right.
Not even like necessarily the business venture, but how he came upon it. So he spoke about traveling the world and introducing himself to a ton of different experiences that helped him get in the right mindset and to be thankful for what he's made, basically.
Yep.
And I really appreciated that too.
Yeah, even in his travels, he actually came up with the name Nike, or actually after he traveled to, I forget where it was Greece or something, I believe it was, he came up with the name Nike. So yeah, really interesting book. But so if someone was getting started in marketing, no matter what their major is, obviously it doesn't always necessarily have to be your major coming out of school, what would you recommend to them?
Yeah, so first and foremost is to familiarize themselves with Google Analytics, because that provides you with a lot of the qualitative information and quantitative information that you need in order to kind of understand how marketing works. And in addition to that is building some sort of writing portfolio. No matter where you go, you're going to be required to write, whether that's in email, whether that's social media content, that's blog content, email content. That is, in any case, you should be building some sort of writing portfolio to go along with your skills and your basic mindset and strategy.
Awesome. If you could compare agency life or tell someone that's interested in being in an agency, what would you tell them about being in an agency?
It's very fast-paced. Meeting deadlines is very important. Being transparent in communication is very important. Being able to manage many things at one time is important. And being a self-starter. I mean, I know that kind of sounds like some boiler talk or some boilerplate like resume talk, but all of those things are true. And it's a sink or swim kind of industry.
Yeah, for sure. And the last thing that you want is, as an agency owner or as someone that manages you, is having to check in on 8 different accounts on a daily basis. So if you're not a self-starter, but not only a self-starter, but like a self-manager as well, then you're just not going to make it in an agency because there's just too many responsibilities all at once.
There is. And even understanding the limit that it takes to get to where a project is in a good place is not easy. And it takes a large amount of work behind it and effort and like an eye of detail that you need in order to make sure that it's in a good place.
Yeah. So what's it like managing, speaking of multiple accounts, but what about like multiple clients and I guess their accounts and their brands?
Yeah. Some days are crazier than others. Some days are a little lax, but I think even on those lax days, it provides me and my team with a lot of time in order to develop what's going to happen next. So it's not always looking at what's happening right now, but then planning for the future.
Right.
So whether that's testing, whether that's initiative for seasonality.
Right.
As you know, we're not an industry-specific marketing agency by any means. So all around the year, we have to juggle several different projects and several different initiatives. So it's up and down as far as busyness, but it's really exciting every day walking in. You have a new challenge on your plate every day.
Yeah, one thing I always say about working here, which I worked in also the corporate life, is that the days go very quick here, and you could stay very busy, but you could also make sure that you're not procrastinating by staying busy and you're working on your most important things as well. But days go flying by. I used to work at a corporation, and I could do my job in probably about 20 hours a week. So a lot of the other time was practicing looking busy.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. So that's strike 2.
Current career.
Current career, exactly. So tell me about a little bit about the process of coming up with a campaign.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, none of our clients are necessarily falling into one industry. So it's getting into the mindset of the owner and the customers and trying to develop the most effective way to communicate with them. And in order to communicate the value that they bring, every company is open for a reason. They all provide a very specific service or product. And the reason why they're coming to us is because they have the luxury of being able to now open up their marketing efforts. And for us, it's now taking what they've established and then taking it one level further. And not only now creating the awareness, but establishing a brand reputation, a brand trust, and brand evolution, honestly.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because we have a lot of different clients. We have owners, we have CEOs that maybe aren't owners, right? We also have marketing managers and directors. And there's a lot of different goals, but I do notice that closer you get to the top, the more they are interested in revenue,
Yeah.
right? And what they don't understand sometimes, and although we do try to educate as much as we can, is that revenue comes from all the hard work of what you just said, the brand reputation and building brand value, just creating the awareness. No one's going to come to you unless they actually trust your brand. Now, they might do that on the first time they see it if they really like the campaign that you're running. That's very possible. But typically, it takes several touches, if not dozens of touches before, especially if it's a high cost or longer sales cycle, in order for them to actually become a lead. So it's interesting, the marketing managers and directors understand that brand awareness and that brand value and reputation, that leads to revenue. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the CEOs that just want leads, right? Because they want revenue, and they want ROI, and they want to see it by month 3.
Yeah,
so.
And 100% too, because the return on investment is really kind of how a lot of CEOs measure the success of a campaign.
Right.
If I'm spending X amount of money, I expect Y in return.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're trying to accomplish in the first place. But leads and awareness both can come at the same time. But the awareness part and building that trust and reputation is extremely important.
Right.
So even if it's not necessarily in dollars today,
right.
it could mean dollars in the future.
Sure.
Even bringing leads in for Kraus marketing, we have to specialize in marketing ourselves as well. And having leads come in, sometimes these people don't know who we are, and they use our website and our portfolio, our rewards, our case studies as a way of building that. But if we didn't reach out and communicate to them that they can trust us, then they wouldn't be in the door in the first place.
That's right. Yep. I mean, I would say that 75% of our clients, for instance, only heard about us through our digital marketing efforts.
Yeah.
So it would be a much smaller company today if we didn't actually do it ourselves.
Yeah, and shout out to salesmen too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They close the deals, right?
Yes, they close the deal.
Marketing people don't make it easy for the salesmen. If we're being honest, right? They're really just order takers at this point, aren't they?
Yeah, right.
So, you've had a lot of successful projects. I asked you to come up with an example to bring today. So tell us about an example of maybe like some small campaign, or maybe it's a little bit bigger, that you thought was really successful and why it was.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. I do have one in mind. It was a shorter campaign, but it was after a long June day that you and I were talking about the NBA draft and likened the Kraus logo to the New York Knicks.
Right.
And I think we had spoken about doing like some sort of hybrid between the New York Knicks logo and Kraus marketing, and we came up with...
It was my idea, right? I'm just kidding.
It was your idea, yes, okay.
Narcissist.
Yeah, Man, I hate that. That's a bit. We came up with this beautiful little logo, and what we did was we broadcast on our social channels.
Yep.
The NBA draft is tonight. Who do you think the Knicks are taking?
Right.
And within 1 hour, on a very small budget, we brought in 1,100 engagements between comments, likes, and shares on Facebook and Instagram, and
in 60 minutes.
In 60 minutes.
Yeah.
I was alarmed.
Which is why people are always like, what type of leads am I getting from, my social? And it's like, well, social, here's the other thing that everyone says. Well, social isn't about leads. It's also about having a conversation. So how do you do it in a way? So this is a perfect example of how we're having a conversation with our targeted audience with something that they're actually interested in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because content is king. We've heard that phrase a million times over again.
Right.
Any marketer has that tattooed on the back of their eyelids.
Right.
Content is king.
Right.
And making sure that you're putting the right content out in front of the right audience is so important.
Right.
And in this case, it's exactly what we did. And that's why we saw the results that we did.
Yeah, highly relevant in the moment, so it's pretty good. So we're on basketball. I know you're a basketball fan. I'm a basketball fan. All-time best starting 5. I'm a little scared to see what you say.
What I say?
Yeah.
I'm going to have Magic at the point.
Okay.
I'm going to have Jordan at the 2.
Yeah.
LeBron at 3. I was bouncing back.
Okay.
I'm kind of bouncing back and forth on who I want to power forward between Tim Duncan and I love Charles Barkley.
Yep.
I'm probably going to go with Timmy. I
Yep.
love Tim Duncan. He's just an all-timer, 100%. And Shaq at number 5.
Yeah.
And I mean, how are you supposed to beat that lineup?
Yeah.
1 through 5 is an all-time.
So I think Steph Curry would school Magic Johnson. I think Magic Johnson just played in the days of like slow motion, and also he's much better to watch. I think in fact Jason Kidd would school Magic Johnson. So that's just my thought process. Anyway, of course I would have Jordan. I put Pippen at small. I put Garnett at power, even though I think he traditionally played center. And then, of course, I would have Shaq in the middle because how do you beat Shaq?
I mean,
he boxes out everyone, and
he was a comet. He changed the game for that position. But I'm interested in the Steph over Magic choice. Yeah. And Steph is my current favorite player in the game. Yeah. He's unbelievable. The best shooter
it's my starting five. So you're right. Also, the reason is I just feel like it would be watching a video game, right? So, and I don't put LeBron in it because I don't even like him being in the conversation. So,
look, I'm an MJ guy. Okay, I think that if you're gonna build a Mount Rushmore or even the top three, you have to look at MJ at number one. Right. LeBron's up there, probably number two. Kobe, my guy, number 24 and 8. Those are my three guys, but...
You didn't watch The Last Dance, though, to say Jordan's your guy.
No, I didn't, but I don't have cable. I'm a cord cutter, so I just pay for internet. But ESPN released it for free afterwards, so I'm going to watch it eventually.
Okay, cool, yeah.
It's on my
So they started leading up to it, in February, that they were going to release this in June, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, COVID came, and, they released it earlier because they had nothing else, and it was amazing. But I thought, speaking of advertising and marketing, I was like, holy crap, how are they going to talk about this for 5 months without people getting bored? Anyway, I don't know, because they released it in March anyway. So
it couldn't have come at a better time either, because everyone was inside. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because Michael was such a polarizing force, and even just beyond the basketball player, because he transcended really the game. He was a force. Everyone knew, how many other athletes can you name that played multiple sports and that everyone is aware about, right? Bo Jackson played multiple sports, Deion Sanders played multiple sports, but Michael Jordan was the guy who everyone thinks back to. He played basketball. Right. He had 2 back-to-back championship seasons, but then had that little tiny stint that we don't like to talk about where he played baseball.
Right.
And excuse me for using this medium as a way to launch my basketball podcast, which is coming soon. But he really did transcend the game, and even the brand Jordan.
Dora will cut it out.
Can you cut that? Even the brand Jordan is something to be admired because of the way that they've even brought themselves. So it does kind of come full circle in that way.
Yeah, for sure. Which is ran by Nike anyway, right?
Which is ran by Nike anyway. Yes.
Yeah. Which actually, so they talk a lot. Phil Knight talks a lot about that in his book. But also in The Last Dance, they talk about that as well quite a bit. It's pretty interesting how he went about even choosing Nike, because it wasn't necessarily his first choice. I believe Adidas was his first choice. And then he went to this small sneaker company, I won't call it shoe, sneaker company, I think it was out in California, and they wowed him, and they were super interested. They really wanted him, and they gave him the biggest number. So at the end of the day, that's where he went. And I mean, you could probably relate Michael Jordan and the success of Nike pretty closely as well. So besides, sports, tell me a little bit about how you spend your time not in the office.
Mm-hmm. So when I'm not in the office, I play rugby in my free time. Yep. Snowboard.
The notes in here say rugby, aren't you 4'11"? But I would never size shame you. I'm just saying the notes say that.
I appreciate you not size shaming me. Although
I wouldn't do that.
On the short
I wouldn't do that.
Never. No, I do play rugby. It is a much safer sport than people make it out to be. Yeah. I'm sure you've seen some clips where it's some guy with a bloody face or some big hit or something. Yeah. It's actually a much safer sport. There's a lot of rules and regulations that kind of legislate some of those.
Do you wear one of those padded helmets, or?
I don't.
No?
Although I should. I've had enough concussions where I probably should be wearing them now.
That's interesting. I always see them knock their heads together, and it's just that part
painful.
Looks terrible to me.
Yeah, the pain is not remediated, but there are ways and systems in place to try to avoid those at all costs. Yeah. But no, I have never worn a scrum cap.
Awesome. That's what it's called,
Scrum cap.
Scrum cap.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
It was really great having you. I was actually pretty interested to talk to you. Maybe I'll do it more often.
Actually.
After you're out of the company, after I fire you.
Current career.
Current career. So, but if you ever have the chance again, I'd love to have you back on. Maybe talk about another success story that maybe you might have at a different company.
I would love that. And thank you for having me on.
You got it.
I'm just gonna say, can we cut that all over the place as we're shooting?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to say that. I've heard so many podcasts where it's we're gonna cut that out.
Yes.